It's 10 o'clock.
Say the prayers on page number 10. We'll say in Tibetan 2 times. Afterward, we'll say in English 1 time. In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and process. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, unlimited perfume, strong with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon, I visualize this Buddha feel and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. Ino Puro Rama and Ameya.
아니 정말로 참 드시고 참고. 진짜.
Good morning to you all. Thank you for coming, and it's good to see you.
땅아주 검자가 있는데 직당 때는 검자한테 냥지 동 샴바 검에 샴당 냥지 있습니다. 샴바당 냥지 검고지.
So today, in our meditation session, I would like to request to you all join me to practice a different topic and different content, that is living a loving kindness. So in other words, we're going to meditate on loving kindness.
샴바당 냥지가 있다.
Loving kindness and compassion.
진짜 다 당선 잠보는 디강나다 지 사윤의 칠로를 아니 메큐르 때자 나차를 근데 배 아주 잠보는 디강나 강을 먹보다 다른 아주 무 통지 배 아주 미다 동시듯이 담바 디낭콩라 때 강을 먹보지 채더 또 당부 세마점니 지저로 말아 소아담니 또 세마점니 뜨니 다리 당내서 등을도 담지 세마지 샤라지니 등을도 담전리 있잖아 선비 삼로도 이제 때스 곰 냥지레시 이제 곰네네 지저로 미신 기신로 버테니 니와도 때니 담지 소소랑이니 고점데 로아도 담지 등을리 상송 삼지네 대화동 단송 담be 대화동 담버 저시 담버 샤오스 대화동 단송 삼비 때 샴바로 대화동 담바 때 만드와 소치 삼비 삼로도 가마 저스데 곰로지스.
Yes, so like I said, we're going to meditate on loving kindness, compassion. So what just give you some background so to make your meditation successful and relevant and powerful. And that is, prior to the actual meditation, and think about what's going on now in this very moment around in the world around us. So we have all kinds of natural and the human made natural disaster, and such as the flood, earthquake, and wildfires, and some other very devastating disasters, as well as the human-made sufferings, such as like a crime and violence, the conflicts, so and so on and so forth, and of course, particularly the pandemic, the sufferings of pandemic. So put all this, or having all this in your mind. And then generate a strong thought, and the thought is, may all these beings, whoever, whichever, wherever, and there are what form of suffering they experience, may they be able to separate free from such a miserable disaster. And then focus on the sentient beings who are currently enduring and those sufferings individually as well as collectively, and then have the strong in the sense of freedom from such a suffering. That is the essence of compassion. Then at so it's going to take it like for a while, and then you meditate and shift your meditation and to now to strongly think about all sentient beings are now be able to free from the suffering which they experienced before. Now they are endured with happiness, they appreciated the life and having a happy and healthy and good life. So then you rejoice and you feel really something that's wonderful. And then meditate on this mind of kindness, and it's for about 10 minutes.
그래서 알라 옴다들이 소화세 옴사데 그정 로아컨데 로미 그송트라 잔난데 그 소소딩을 쓰면 잔데 telung jarjine ni tari so tari tangbote tari so so tangbote ni rol mas ete karjun ro system temse dingali tol niwayo za system dingali tol set niwa tige tari nirma ete to ta ka ma tel niwayo mas pe nirmo yore singa do mi do le ka khur chege yo nirmo yore ane 화모즈는 스마트 화모즈 다리 세 니와티게 스마티게 화모세데 콜리가데 동테치나 미라 황을 동담바트 섬라 심바동 메바데 강지 제토에 되어 니와 동담바 요레 뜻음 창교요 차안에 지즈로말라 소와담니 가롱도 다리 돈지 지즈로말라 소와담니 그런 거 안에 지 특동 니와텔라 때는 로아 등을이 녀트 트론니 아니 대와라 코브르치 지기즈니 텐지 삼동니다 지즈로마 다리 사이에 정서 다리 직동담에서 그런 또 남지 사고로 다리 남지 사고도 곰정등 다리 사고 칸에서 드는 사다 그 다리 도에 든도 이 성으로 말씀했지 로마 곰정이지
So here let me tell you so we are our focus is on the loving kindness compassion but what we're going to do is we're going to recite in the mantra of Aryantara, and so the understanding of this Aryantara mantra practice is aimed to achieve our goal, that is to generate a loving kindness compassion. So here's the thing. While you're reciting the Aryantara's mantra, so you can, like Om Dari, that's the first the part of the syllabus, the syllabus, or the mantra. So you can take this while you are saying Om Dari, reflecting upon the Aryantara's body, speech, and mind, meaning to reflecting or thinking of her body, speech, mind. Or you can also, while you say Om Dari, and reflecting upon or think of your primordial state of body, speech, and mind. That's the pure, the purity aspect of your body, speech, and mind. So then, let me explain the another mantra. So after you said Om Dari, then Do Dari. So here Do Dari is referred to the Aryantara herself, not just herself and as a deity, but particularly Buddha, but particularly in her power in terms of lead the sentient being, free the sentient being from the suffering, guide them, overcome the obstacles and the suffering and the causes of suffering. But because she has such a power, and she is actually the manifestation of the power itself. So therefore, when you say that after you said Om Dari, then Do Dari, you think about the power of the Aryantara, which can help you and all sentient beings to free and relieve from the suffering and cause of suffering. And then lastly, when you say Om Dari, Do Dari, and Duri, so far, Duri is out there. It's not just Aryantara is enlightened being and a Buddha. and she has the power to release and free all sentient beings from suffering, the cause of suffering. But the way she free others from suffering is swift, is rapidly, and is like the thunderbolt, and very super fast. Um, so therefore, yes. So at this point, when you say Om Dari Dudari Duri Soba, and then think about the faster and the swift and the manner in which the Aryan Tara can free you and all others who pray to her. So our understanding essentially when we reciting this mantra, and then we are thinking that we are by reflecting upon Aryan Tara's body, speech, mind, and the power of the really free all sentient beings, and the swiftness of rapid the the speed of action and power of action in terms of release all sentient beings, then you entirely thoroughly depend upon her Aryan Tara and her, and so whereby and you can achieve your goal, and the goal is the free all sentient beings from suffering and bring the joy and the happiness to all other sentient beings. So we're going to recite in the Aryan Tara mantra for about 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, 괜찮다.
Okay. Page 74.
Nande ma mo do ma la shan sa ro ma de re ho mo ta da ra e ji ken se ma de re do na tam che de ma so ye ke je la ra de da re de re so 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 da re de re so. Dare Dare So Wandi Nirde Dam Roma Dirni Roa Chijang Mali Rusho Simchen Napa Chenye Pa Nirde Nali Tarjir Lui Nane Manu Murasho Manam Tatang Damba Dang Sang Dejon Drupranjo Kandro Sarbo La Soba Nyangji Sem Yirji Nimo De Lo Chande Lo Nime Koyang De Lo Su Nyamchen Toda De Lo Konjo Senji Trashi Sho So No so da katsung akal ko ngani te ngawa ter ngawa lo jung la par shawa wa nam la tambala ni don chen tamba chchi ki tamba namjur thamche chukki sha shi song de segi ne khong jolum soji namjur thamchilla de bashi simbi chilla nanten de shawo ozini ta 통탄이라 샤와니 뜻셔발라 가리 요르나 통탄이라 샤와니 시위 저슬 초이 저 시와나 저슬 초이 워드 토마 마니 당위치 펜바 톱기 값스 샤바터 방닌지 쇼라 방는 셰비 판바 적드 당성 자 차기 템브라라 녀위치 링업기 쇼발라 펜바진 르티당 단줄기 리톱 탁진기 치등인절 기위시기 지스종위 돈종 러냠드 가와 멍드샤오 펜바 진마종나 단줄 치술싱 치사모라 절와 도메드샤와 텔라 말락세 시신시 데르 마샤오 냠드 셈버샤오 시오트 롱스나
Now, please go to your copy, translation page 98. In the middle, says the precepts of mind training. This has two parts: the explanation of what appears in the text in verse, and of what appears in the text in maxims. Explanation of what appears in the text in verse. Every yoga should be performed as one. Ensure that the yogas of all such activities as eating, dressing, and reciting are assimilated into the single practice of training the mind. There are two activities at both beginning and end. Just as explained above concerning the power of intention, we should set a strong resolve to eliminate unwholesome activities and acquire their antidotes. You should do this when you wake every morning throughout your life. When you go to sleep at night, if you find that the behavior of your body and speech has been in accord with your resolve, you can rejoice thinking that you having found life as a free and fortunate human beings met with the teachings of the great ego and come under the care of the spiritual masters has been worthwhile. But if you have not done as you had resolved, reflecting that you have worthlessly wasted your leisure and opportunities, and that your meeting with the profound teaching has been without a purpose, determine do not do this same in the future.
단들라 조니 토타니라 샤와니 이즈네 다 샤와 간다 간즈나 토미 고 잠비치스 데라네 글롱 요코지 키니 고잠 타만 지기디위 치스 데네 와 요코지 지네 지기디 고요타 토타니라 샤와니 시고 데자네 내가 간다 간즈나 간다지 랑돈데나 젠기 돈데나 내가 당부지도 토만 고치스 섬로 글롱 요코지 키고를 근데 다만 지기디 손 지기디 요코지 정도나 데라 가와곰 진노 요코 중성이 단다 샤원들이 진들라 알아 정신 탐질라 팬토용 총삼비 가와곰 그러지 아니 까때 요코 마종한테 득자 차다요나 득자 차송에나 될란 요숨 진니 지마때 마지위 시다 담찬로 뜻지 그래 뜻이 그다 도도로즈나 담은 들은 게 시죠 그라든마
So I guess the contents of this few lines are pretty self-explanatory. So essentially, what in this particular context, what is important is that whichever the actions you take in, or the things you are going to engage in, so it always involves the beginning and the end. So here, in this context, how you handle those two beginning and ending action. So our action regarding how to begin our spiritual dharma, particularly the mind training practice here, is that you have to generate a strong power of intention. So generate a strong power of intention. That's the first thing you need to do, and the thing you must do at the very beginning, the beginning of the thing, or beginning of the action. And then, and then you need to maintain on that very resolved, determined the mind or the actions that you aim to complete. So then throughout the day, try to perform and complete the task as perfect, as good, as successful as you determined or you resolved to do at the beginning of the action. Then, and of course, at some point you have to reach the end or stop that very action. So when you are ending, stop that very task, then you must go back to the second thing, and that's the ending action, the things that you need to do at the end of the action. That is reflection. So reflect upon, look back, see how well your project or your practice and the jobs you have been performed. So yes, at the ending point, when you look back, if you find that whatever you have been done is kind of successful and you achieved the goal or the outcomes that you have set before the action, and then take it into your heart and rejoice it and truly feel happy about what you have done and so well. And same time, so again, that's here the thing. This action and the other practice that you need to have to do at the beginning, meaning to generate a powerful intention and then reflect at the end. It's not only reflect apply to the actions which is for yourself, but for others. So in other words, any action you take in for the sake of your own well-being or for the sake of others, you must apply and the set up motivation at the beginning and with a strong intention, and then reflect on making an honest reflection at the end. So in both cases, the action you take for yourself or for others. And so one other thing is like we discussed, when you find that your reflection, if it shows that you really did well, then rejoice. But what if you find that you failed to do, or you didn't complete, or even you didn't really do that well at all? And so we find that due to the obstacles and or some other setbacks, whatever, personal reasons and other reasons all combined, and then you must again make a very clear, honest reflection, and then find out what was the cause of the trouble, which maybe you failed, and or was not done the perfect job, and then do honest evaluation, and then determine that you will pay close attention to the area or the place where you got a fail, and then to determine that you will not make that happen again.
다네 토모 삼로 땅에서 야 니마 nga랑조 치타 메이 메시지 끝나라 메시지 지나마는데 니마치 때네 니마치 때 그전마다 대롱세들 대롱세들마도 배출 동안도 대랑 가정 참아 제송 요말 선인 참아 쓰지라 톱송아 요말다 딱sam로만 원제 대롱세들 니마치 때 던지진 메시지 좀 인천 순이 잡을 때랑 자리 소나 다들 님은 더 지금 강을 먹죠. 대자당 알아서 미 멋지 지금은 대kil등 알아서 참아라. 너바 지금 충분 너바 청민 너바 쉬어야 대화 너바 등이면 너바 들으라. 또 참아 소이 쇼핑하고 남나도 냠데 심지 탑저랑 랑일링고 섬때 랑랑 나 대화도 너바 등이면 너바 대화 대인 반응서 심지 탐저 직바로 또 삼로 당보 듣기고. 또 계동나 아니 다른 이 대화도 너바 등이면 너바 인자 다른 대화 용사 때 가리 용 대화 용사 때 아니 또 다른 데시에 가지고 세기 내康 졸면서 다 링거 있음 거 내기텔 링거 있음 거 줘발라 때니 다소 직전들 소고자 소의 요시 때나 때 세기 내면서 보다 다 세기 내康때 간다지 줘발에 내기 용사가 진로 또 차도를 때 간다지랑 줘발에 제때나 또 요나 소소랑이라 아니 사야던 통화던 대던 컴바던 요던 알아서 고고요로 때 고고여서 내기가 싸워지는 거 리드 소이 내기가 싸워도 차월 때 강리 종아래는 또 홉트컬었더니 살이야 기다 말 기타 사진 디강라 종아 저발었더니 종아르띠는 매명고 소알었더니 종아 때도 심지 잘랐더니 종아 근데 전 같이 첨보이 봤대 마스 소소랑이 그딴다 롱쇼비 리드 영배 nga sa chambo smu lind yang ni li sa de yang kani jongar jin phamani latin jongar te chama sinji jin latin jongar sha thayem ba te yoji shesona o ta simji rang dewando ba dong jin dewando ba chikpa im bare te cha da rang jin ga la chapra rang dewa teng jan la rang dewa re te shesona o ta di rang khori na ju mi chamche hapar rang nyen khol ju mi chamche chig la ten tem ba im ba ne 대원도 봐 등은도 봐 띠바 싸우 셈나 쟁고르지 뜻전송나 뜨니 코랑 니 쇼핑하고 좀 대랑 니만들랑 아랑 데키당 담바 전라데 등을 모용와 더런지 탐제 데키당 용바 지고 섬 끌롱 뜻키고르지 뜻키 탑송나 공다 냐카 삼노 땅네 뜻 종산 마손 요고 직삼노 땅네 뜻 종다는 수가오고 없지 종면은 될라 버지다 네 요셔지나와 성인은 게 뜻이만 섬 어떻지 고르 뜻서 고르다
So let me put it in a simplest term, make it as simple as I can. Essentially, here's the thing. So we know that we need to begin as soon as we wake up in the morning. We need to begin moving around, do something, and engage in some kind of form of actions. So which is the kind of our very basic human behavior, human reality. So we usually say lifetime, or my life, and in my lifetime. Yeah, well, which is true. Yes, your life and your lifetime, and But what do you really talk about? When we say my lifetime or my life, we are really talking about is the day in which we feel our very existence, right? So in this context, when we say my lifetime or my life, literally we are saying today, here, now, okay? So I do feel in my existence, and I feel myself, the very being of myself. The next thing, if you look in and more deeper, you will see that you not only feel your state of being, or your very mere being, and your reality is a state of being. You are here, and in fact, you are motivated to do something. You're aimed to do something. So that aim, their motivation, and it making you moving around is seeking for, consciously or unconsciously, seeking for something that we call the happiness or pleasure, or desirable, favorable, something that's favorable. And it is indeed true. We say lifetime, my life, but it's really we are talking about here now, today. Why? Because yesterday and it's gone. You cannot do anything about it. It's just a kind of a memory, right? And something that's forever. You can't get anything and back from yesterday in terms of time. And then we also say that tomorrow. Well, tomorrow theoretically is there. It seems something will come in, but literally, in terms of a master, or to in terms of the application or the actual sort of the accessibility or in terms of use, and we cannot get it right. Tomorrow is by no means cannot be used here and now today. It is something yet to come. So that means it's virtually, literally, is not there, as if it's not there. So this is again is our reality. The yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is it's just a kind of just like yesterday, a kind of memory, like a memory, a part of the memory become memory, and tomorrow is kind of imagined, something that's imagined of imagination. Yeah. So what we truly have is 24 hours today here. So then so within this 24-hour period of time, so we are and try to achieve it, and our goal, that is happiness, pleasurable, enjoyable, and something kind of do our favor. And so this is not just you and we here is naturally doing that. That's our tendency and our behavior, or our very sort of action, the purpose of our action. When we confirm that is true, it is really that's what we are, what we are doing. And then if we turn our head around, look around, we know that all others is far or nearby. All of them are exactly looking for, seeking for, and want to do the same thing. That is, that they are also looking for having this 24 hours, and within that 24 hours, they are looking for something pleasurable, favorable, and enjoyable. And at the same time, just like us, we do not experience anything that's undesirable, unsatisfactory, and dismay, and displeasure, unhappy. So do others. They are also try their very best to avoid and those undesirable experiences. So now let's talk about make an honest analysis here. So we are looking for happiness. That's our tendency. That is our natural desire. But when we talk about this happiness, right, and as a pleasure, and we are mainly looking for and put up quite a lot of time and make an effort to put it into the causes of the happiness, right? Not the actual moment where in which you are and enjoying the happiness itself, but rather we make a tremendous effort and put a tremendous energy, time into the things which bring about and or and give us a happiness, a pleasure, the sense of well-being. That is good food and good clothing and desirable shelter. So food and clothing and shelter. That's the material cause of our material happiness. When I say material happiness, I'm referring to the happiness at the physical body. So I are involved with, associated with our physical body's well-being. And so, yes, we have to eat, we have to drink, and we have to dress and to protect our body, right? Dress properly to protect our body from the heat or from the cold, right? And from anything that may harm our body. And that requires clothes, right? Yeah. Or some other means to protect our body. At the same time, of course, we need shelter. That's a house, a place to rest and place to enjoy and our spare times. So yes, but all this clothing, food, and the housing, all of them are only ensures and guarantees we enjoy our to experience the gain the happiness at the body, a physical level. And so now take the next step to think about our bodily happiness or bodily enjoyable thing. So how is it? So it's a state of kind of a status of this very body and causes this body, right? Excuse me. And our body essentially, in terms of the sources, right? Our bodies originated from our parents. So, in other words, we receive this physical entity which give us pleasure, enjoy something enjoyable, but it's originated from our parents, and our parents is the one who gave us this body, right? So therefore, this body is not really essentially it comes from us. It's been given, so it's some kind of a gift. And then when you look in again goes back to think about the food, clothing, and the shelter, the house. All those material things, is one way or another is involved with somebody else, the hard work and dedication and the creativity and commitment. So in other words, the good food you enjoy on the dinner table and the nice clothing and the ornaments that you're wearing and give you a good sense of well-being. And again, it's made by somebody else. Of course, the house, the very house or shelter you're using is the production of somebody else's work. So you are here only merely to display the one part of the rule, okay? And it's not entirely something that you own it from your body and to the nice food, house, and the clothing you enjoy. So your happiness is dependent on others, and others, of course, one way or another, is related to you if you can contribute and make a contribution and give it back to them. So therefore, in our human reality, our very happiness, well-being is the dependent arising. It's dependent upon each other. We are really closely, our happiness is very closely interrelated. It's been created or produced by the means of interrelatedness. So therefore, and we have this today, and this very 24 hours, and this is our life or my life. But if you think that I'm going to, and because this is the reality, how should I use it today, in my life today, and here now, and do something to return the kindness of others, and do something and to ensure my own well-being now and in the future. So, and then of course you set up good, strong, and positive motivation or intention, and then executed it perfectly. And if you did it well, then like we talked about earlier, and rejoice it, really make you feel happy, and take a credit for the good things you have done. But at the same time, if you find the shortcomings and the errors and the mistakes, failures, then confess. Especially if you find that in order to pursue the happiness or get what you wanted for your body and for this happiness at the body level, physical level, if it be something kind of damaging, harmful, and to others, and then just sincerely confess and make sure you will not do that again.
그래서 다 지속는 셔바이나 단디 아주 단주지 밀리지 린드 베 자첨보레 니까와 돈첨보레 인지기라와레 시고 된서 된데 리지 톱더레 때까 첨보 돈첨보 이바가진 델라테네 아니 로진 탐지 등을리 또 니와요레지 된서다 가랑 소소런지 등을리 있잖아 삼비상로테 인종 삼바레 어떻지니 네 연 섬진 탐지 등을리 있잖아 삼비상로테 향지리 어때니우티 지지네 아니 랑 엄버 상지 있는 삼나 랑 상지 송나 랑 등을리 저다 전 등을리 또 니와요 된저다 섬지 탐지도 엄버 상지 있는 삼비 상로테 키송나 아니 상지 샘세고 너따때 양지 곰트와이나 니마르레 텐지 랑 등을리 있잖아 전 등을리 있잖아 띠타위시트다 샤완로 강 링에서 샤와 강 당가지나 때 냠링 쇼츠 송네 로트나 서미트 지나 로종세도 지동 곰레라 로 소소 삼로라 지지당 삼로 지지당 삼로 같은 데디 클롱트나 내가 강당 거지나 근데 쇼 푸스 소비철라 랑 등을리다 잔등을리다 티체트 곰버서 상 이게 서미 데디 삼로 당하나 맞지던 당다 맞cha거리 다 치숑세나 티제고르시
뭐지 민족 같은 거
민족 랑 등을리다 삼바지오라
오
랑이 등을리다 삼바다 민족 jen ding sana tabi sambate nyangjir ta de niga tabi ta so de ngomber zo sangji songna sangji yi yin se sangji sabate de niga thobar chapal chetta ne sangji ge sabate shangchi semri
So now let's take a further step to think the matters concerns us from a spiritual point of view, or literally from Buddhist point of view. So here in Buddhist perspective, we know that the form of body we received, right, we appreciate it, we enjoy, is called the precious human body. So this precious human body is precious because it's endure the 8 leisure and the 10 opportunities. 8 leisure and 10 opportunities. And since it's kind of marked by such 18 unique qualities, and so therefore it becomes very special, and we call the special human body. And this special human body, which is made up or constitutes or consists of the 8 leisure 10 opportunity, is according to the Buddha Dharma or the Buddhist scripture, is extremely hard to obtain, and however is very easily to be lost, right? Hard to obtain, easily to be lost. That's again, this is a reality. So, under such the circumstances, so the question
It's 11
is how we
o'clock.
should apply or fully use or take advantage of this precious human body, and do something in the which is very meaningful. So to answer this question, and we do need the following three things. So number one, we do need to determine or develop a strong mind of renunciation, right? Strong mind of renunciation, meaning the determined to give away anything that make you feel painful and stressful and unhappy and miserable. Okay? So develop a strong mind of renunciation, meaning you strongly determined to free yourself from the suffering. Right? Determined to free yourself from the suffering. That is that very mind is called the mind of renunciation. Then you turn it, shift your attention and to develop a strong intention. The intention is now. You strongly wish and determined to do anything you can to achieve the Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Meaning, now, and you are determined and you set up a goal. You made your mind. You want to attain the Buddhahood, become a perfect enlightened being. Why? Because it is clear that only Buddha has the power and being the possession can fully understand all sentient beings' capacity and their individuality and their interest and background and their tendencies and so on and so forth. So therefore, you determine that you want to be such a perfect enlightened being, a Buddha, and because you want to free all sentient beings from suffering. So this wish and then determined to attain Buddha and for the sake of all sentient beings, and in other words, to free all sentient beings from the suffering is the compassion. Right? So that's the second and the practice, and then so then you determine in order to achieve right such a goal, and then you take the practice of Bodhicitta, the development, the actual the engagement or the actual the Bodhicitta, in other words, the action itself. That of course requires you to commit yourself to the practice of the 6 great perfections. So take the actual training and practice the Bodhicitta. That is the third thing here I like to say. And but what is really then the actual training in the context of here, the training of the mind, and our whatever we are doing here is that we call the mind training. But essentially, mind training is a meditation. This meditation requires you to understand the proper way of a proper way to carry out your action at the body level, and also the proper way and to carry out your action in the verbal level, and then the action carry out at the mental level, in accordance to the trainings of Bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment. So this very training or the practice, and here we call the mind training, and but which is the essence of the Bodhicitta.
Tejata ne rong dingal litana samlo te nginjong chinde dingal litawi tobja rong chipo dingal litana sambi ti chetan batsu chi topi ni rong ni la topsona kar topgusna tela tene da chobi komo topgura dingal yongse rong dingal litawi tawa tela da chobi semsur tene ane ta thaman sagur tene ane rong dingal litawi nginjong de jen dingal litana sambi sambate nyangji chi 오다 랑지 니가 등을 때고 티타위치 상지지 공부 톡고 있는 셈비 상로데 뭐 탁받침 볼함지 티 드고 타트때 상지지 공통래지 어때 있었다 티 잡으로 들으시고 그러지.
So again, let me make a bit clear what I have said. We know that renunciation or the practice of renunciation is very crucial. But this practice of renunciation, meaning determined to free oneself from one's own happiness, from one's own suffering. And so that very determination and the action and the result of that very practiced action, determined to free from the suffering, is aimed to fulfill one's own desire. That desire is one's own the spiritual freedom, one's own liberation. So suppose, yes, from literature we know that those who whose very purpose is coming into the Buddha Dharma and then take the practice and to determine to liberate themselves from the suffering and cause of suffering. And then the highest the very result they can achieve is called arhat. And so who can achieve arhat is the Pratyeka and Buddha and the Shravakas. So Shravaka or hearers and self-realizer. And those are two individuals, a group of individuals, and they are the ones from the very beginning, and they set up their mind and want to free themselves by the means of Buddha Dharma and to achieve liberation. So then they become an arhat, right? So now here's in contrast. By contrast, the great being, the Mahayana, followers Mahayana, the Bodhisattva, those who determined to free all sentient beings from the suffering that they experiencing, and they know that just like themselves and they have experienced the suffering, samsara, and the infinite number of all sentient beings out there equally experience the similar sufferings. So therefore, instead of to address their own suffering or aim to achieve the liberation, only taking care of or secure their individual's happiness, now they determined to become a Buddha and for the sake of all sentient beings. So therefore, they set the goal, the highest goal, the perfect goal, that is not an arhat would, but is a Buddha, is become a fully enlightened being. So therefore, this individuals who determined to become a Buddha, and they are the one and the focus on the practice of compassion. So that's very compassionate. Is again the very object and objective. They try to overcome the object of they try to achieve is to remove the suffering. But this suffering is not their suffering, the individual suffering, but the suffering of in all the countless number of others. So therefore, by the power of the compassion and through the practice of bodhicitta, then they and the Buddhahood, and so they not only at this point free themselves, liberated themselves, but they also liberated all others. So this is the two. You can see this difference is quite clear. Those who aimed to free themselves from the suffering, and then by the means of Buddha Dharma become arhat. So and then see the way they focus their mind, set up the mind is, and so they have this kind of the greatest compassion for themselves, but not primarily for others, right? So therefore, they contend with they become arhat. And but Mahayana or the Bodhisattvas, by contrast, is they looking the sufferings of others, right, but not the sufferings of themselves. So therefore, they are able to develop a great compassion, and then determined to become Buddha to free all sentient beings.
다 때라 좋아지는 걸 아니 성지 좀 된데라니 심지 담지 등을 내다위 니와 요로에지네 또 요르지네 노세 그러 또 요나니 심지 담지 등을 마도 네된데 가르치르지나 어디 저한테 성지 좀 된데 그런 걸 내잡죠 그러잖아 로이 등을 시작하면서 로이 등을 치그티니 등 따타와요 말에 니 락파게 주로 등을 렌트와요 말에 아니 딱 가르치네 니 주로 마땅보 샘기는 숨진담주 등을 이토이 니와도 가르자고 가르니 시지 자고 zamlongjonda 친이 된바다 미토르지 땅이 담비 치 나랑 그 냠슬롱네 샘라 지치 땅네 냠는 거를 맞아 나랑 그 냠슬롱네 나랑 대와 톱전 주 등이 참말로 막 땡이자요 tel 텔라 치니 소나 대 냠슬롱아나 땡이 대와 톱톱 거래 또 렌트 잡요지.
Well, we have talked a whole lot about the power of the Buddha or the benefits or importance of to become a fully enlightened being, achieve Buddhahood. So maybe on the backside of it, you or some practitioners, maybe there are individuals who have heard such statements or and teachings, and they might wondering or have questions, say, does Buddha indeed has a power, right? And to address or free all sentient beings from the suffering? Right? Has he such a power? Of course, if you ask this to a very dedicated, learned Buddhist, who would say, sure, of course, Buddha do have the power. And but then, if you ask, say, how? How we know Buddha has the power? What is the Buddha's power is being manifested, right? So, in fact, at this point, as a Buddhist, we do not need try hard to get an answer and ourselves, and then to give those who challenge us or challenge whoever consider themselves is a very dedicated practitioner, a Buddhist practitioner. The Buddha himself, in fact, answered that very question, whether he has a power to free all sentient beings or not. The Buddha's answer is pretty simple. And in one sutra, the Buddha particularly said that my power, the way, and to free all sentient beings is not like I put my hands on the very suffering of any individual and then take away with my very own hand, right? Take away the sufferings of that very being and with my very own hand. And also my way to taking care of free other all sentient beings suffering is not like pouring a jar of water and then clean and that person's body, or give him a kind of a shower or something like that, and then remove all sufferings from that individual's very existence. And so Buddha said, my power, the way I can free all sentient beings is by pointing out the ultimate reality, or in other words, the mode of actual and the true mode of the existence, meaning the ultimate reality, the nature of the all phenomena by pointing out the nature of a reality, the true mode of the state of all being and state of all phenomena, and then so I can help all others, and by the power of that very technique and understanding and the practice, then can free all sentient beings. So that's how Buddha claim that he has the power and he can free all sentient beings from suffering.
Hote tata rangi goyang yin rangi dain said that ni was that so rangi going to sanchi chum the biggest stand of lam teleshini yamslang that rangi going to child. They lam the law shini dona so rangi dach the king was the tangatilla drassigore, the chitangatilla going to go to rangi going rangi dain sanji the dom the javers.
So, simply speaking, Buddha's conclusion, his self conclusion he made is that you are we, as the ordinary sentient being that Buddha pointed out. And then, so he clearly said that we are our own protector, and we are also our own enemy or our own destroyer. So why Buddha said we are our own protector, and or otherwise we also can be our very destroyer or enemy? That is because if you follow the Buddha Dharma, like the sense of technique, the theories, and views, and the practice which we are talking about, and then in the other path that Buddha showed us, if we do follow that path, do follow the teachings which we have learned and we understood, then you are going to be you will become your own protector. Vice versa, or by contrast, or opposite, if you do against and take the complete opposite direction and not engage in, not follow, and undertaking this kind of mind training or the spiritual path, and then you would do the things which is opposed against this very basic principles of spiritual and the process of the spiritual liberation, then you would become your own enemy, or you will going to destroy yourself.
Oh yeah, then you draw to come on.
So we have about 10 minutes and 2 more minutes. Do you have any questions for me? 뭐가나 들었네요, 그럼.
그럼 아무도 못 얘기해서.
Oh, right. So if you, those of you in temple, I don't know how you're going to manage to make your question because I can't see you.
딱 선임 믿는 거 같이 이렇게. 네. 삼바정 이렇게. 좀 make 봐.
No questions then?
Yeah, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my question's about confession. And here you were talking about if you have been harmful to others, you should confess. So I guess could you just elaborate on that a little bit? Are you confessing to the person, say you've had harmful thoughts, or you just don't feel particularly good about something, or do you just take it onto yourself and confess and then pray about it? Or, I mean, I'm just curious about that.
Right. Moving to the one and then what 이 문제니라 샤와니 스케치와 갑자기 통탄이라 샤와니 통탄이라 샤와니 그 타미 그 샤와테 있는 수두에 에디스용 거나 당연만나 그 수두이 이 콜롬보 팜바 땅완나 싱글티 라모 마총 버치 아과다니 밀라 노바치야 당데 노치용 비 인디키 데존데션 거기나 뭐지 어때가 조석지 고송 통하지 아니 조석지 땅에 간다지 마스 딱지 거기 땅 보고 와서 거기다 좀 미팅 이거나 친제 아니 본다다 같은 데 마상스 미스 미티다 조석 지고르베 아니 로스 삼베 나니 그때 전에 그 마상스 수수가 견주게 수수라니 셰제다 소르베다 데제네 지고르베 야마나 어다 미디 쳇데 몰람데 제 소와다 요서 지금 제단 기소한다.
기똥 요식세든 요 샤파지세 샤파지들라니 자치로 진로 참고 직당다 미지글라 소도 요다 조정나 미들라기 성내 진짜 천담마름 참바담만 참바 지기요래 그때 진짜 리파베죠 등 셰르베죠 당고 요서 가실라는 요식전 들리베 주발로 되게 참로 되는 양가용 거때 저때 맞아 직당한데 당보 소소 노트트 소소 민진지 타베데 당보들이 당보도 노트지사 소소랑 그 노트지야데 이제 가르 강스가 되는 노트지야 등 예슨 도와지네 예슨 좋아때 애네 소소 요바지 걸 딱이 노트지선 답에 제마송 산들이 마송 요바지야 요슴진이 애네 디 지만에 지금에는 소 담자지나 다 샤동원이 차고 뜻지는 디체드더니 소소 파송의 밀라스 니스송이 다성되는 노트 종송 공다지니 시탑송나 답되나 뜻이다나 파송띠기 셈나나 노바지오나 강아주나라서 상로를 다가랑 차더 답되고랑 맞종아이나 디체드니 지 파송들라 노바제티 디기바 소소 먼저부터 이겨라서 봤는데 받아서돌아서 봤는데 돈지 뭐는 잡나다 섬준비도 세 초로 또비스 성소나 근데 받다고요.
Yes. So regarding the compassion here in Buddhism, actually we have two things. One is called regret, and then compassion and josho. It's not just compassion itself, but it's regrets and compassion. Regrets, of course, we know that you feel sorry and you take a responsibility, right? And you know that that's your fault, and you really understand that what you have done was not good. So yeah, so you feel sorry about it, and that's regrets. And then the compassion. So compassion is a bit more serious. The true compassion or real compassion and only can be taking place or completed, can be considered as completed on your action of compassion, and if have the four things and all sort of in place or been covered or taken care of. Those four things is number one, and that is that you understood, fully understood what you have done. Right? So, and then in the secondly, then you determine that you will never do it. Right? And then third is if you find that person, the circumstances is favorable, is kind of good, is appropriate, and for you to go ahead, reach that individual or individuals, and openly, publicly say, express your regrets and confess to them if everything is kind of good, it's good condition. Why I make this deal is because, even you did something you really regret, you you want to confess, but not the circumstances or everybody you're going to approach to confess would take it well. Right? Sometimes it doesn't matter how sincere you are, so how regretful you are. But others, if you go, if the circumstances is not ready, the conditions are not ready. If you go and approach the people, the group of people, the individuals, instead of let them to accept your apology, your confess, they maybe will make it even things more worse, right? So for that reason, we have to use our wisdom and be skillful and make sure we assess the circumstances well. Now this person at this time, at this place, at this time is as good as I know they can accept my compassion, and then you can approach. But if you find that those individual or individuals and then they are not ready to accept your compassion, and then you better withdraw and not go into them publicly or personally, but rather you stay back. You can sincerely say the prayers such as like the 100 the mantra syllabus, right? And recite the mantra and with a deep remorse and compassion and a sense of strong regret, and they dedicate the merits you accumulated to their well-being. And so yes, so that is the third thing. And the fourth thing is here you have to determine that you will never ever do that again. So with these four conditions or the factors is being fully concerned or covered, and your compassion is carried out with the presence of these four conditions, then the real compassion can be achieved.
Renunciation.
페이스북이나 좋아서 그래. 기동.
뭐야?
뭐야?
방송. Professor Victor 좋아합니다. 뭐. Okay, I would like to hear about renunciation and the dangerous supply. 그것이 지금서 맞죠? 동바 거지. 이 민중 선배 거라지. 아니 진셰비 님 어디서 뭐 거라지 송다. 동바 거지.
동바.
민중 선배 거지. 진셰비 니와 어디서 뭐 송다. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yes, the question that we have here is, I would like to hear about the vows, renunciation, and the dangers of lying.
아니 딱그 직당하니 논바랑나 소소들이 지금은지니 담자제로와 담자제자 때당갈나 다 때당가위 니와지니 아주 직당하니 직당지나 소 잡아이나 랑진기 하나만 토바지니 득바고 랑진기 득바지요 티가 네 소자게 맨지니 킬린지 등 소잡아이나 지위 하나만 토바다 랑진기 하나만 토바지 득바니 용거다 지금 가르는 직당 랑진 콜라 득바 요아치지 니때 그런 거 킬린지니 등이 지금은 담자던 가위 득바니 정도 때 니와니 정도 어떠지 아니 진람나 가려요 진람나 세데나 소소적진 람뜨나 파쇼 미 고고타나 미텔라 라고 톰치니 이때 소소라 이치 징금 이치 제시 미치나 텔라 소소 고고타나 디람 로바 때미 님이 지용 때니 지만이 미도 소소라서는 이치 메와 차는 거지 소소라니 미 가도나 차한족사 메와 지 차시고 아니 따디 렌리게 나멘 로즈나 가르봉도 교와시만 없어 소소라 미몽보 창조 이치메와 마스 미게 소소 같은 거 콜트올라 같은 친구와 되게 nhiều 그래 어떤 뜻이고 근데 민중 세나다 들어와다 님증 그 타와 돈일로 송나디 생긴 좀 지야라진다 지르부치게 티노나 신데라 산나다 데라 신디기 데키들 촌 참데 근데 같이 진지네 신도에샤드니 다 신데가 분수 속발람 편이 일록지네 어따 개와 심한 요고지 기트나 삼비 삼로지 개와 심한 게나 다 데라 임춘지요 마 직발 단단데 오래 때 분수 순서 통마 때 지금도 오래 때 자다 개와 심한 때만 타와지 토고 그 삼비 삼로들다 등을 센데가 등을 잡아서 개와 심이 등을 했더니 타와 토고 그 세와 때랑 인종세거다 임춘근도 타와 돈열로 송나티 생긴 종 지와락스근다 어쨌든 기후 총우를 남세든 아주 세들라 땅에 가리는 멋지다 된지 좀 등가 기와시마 요고지 기트나 도리지 내기 담아지 부서 소바 종나삼이 삼로 당네 자 치전에 가르도 버송에 가르치고는 때 기후 총우람 기후 정글람때 네 기와 세들 기와시마나 좀 코랄이 타나마 코랄이 마탐나다 같은 다 때를 지고네 등을 영어지 받대다 텔리 트래고 근데 삼로들라 인종세고 또 기후 정글람 다 랑어 찍고잖아 지금 섬지 탐지 등을 리트고 등 섬지 탐지 하던 찍바리스니 삼로더니 티체 타와 토고 삼로데 다 기우 침불람 어때서 기우 침론 남름 세데 드시고다
Okay, so first of all, about vows. And so vows in generally is a form of oath, right? Of pledge, you pledge legend and you pledge to do something. And in other words, the commitment, right? You made formally and you made a statement and that you want to do something and that's of course spiritually. So you make such an oath. If for whatever reason and you was not able to fulfill, comply with the oath or the commitments you made, the sets of rules and discipline which you promised that you're going to undertaking or you are going to follow, and if you was not able to do and you violated them, then that very violation of your own oath, right, and the commitments, which is a form of vice or crime, and here of course in the Buddhist terminology is a negative karma, is bad karma. And when we talk about the unwholesome or the bad karma and or non-virtuous action, non-virtuous, we have to know there's two forms of non-virtue. One is called the natural, the virtue and the non-virtue that is being naturally by its nature it is, and the action that is non-virtue by its own nature. Okay, the action which is non-virtue by the nature of its own action. Let me give you an example. For example, like a killing. Killing at any context and any circumstances by its very nature is considered the bad karma, right? It's non-virtue. And on the top of that, and we have a different the non-virtue. That is the action which is non-virtue by violation because of violated the commitment, or due to fail to fulfill the promise or the commitment. So this is like the monastical discipline and all the formal precepts that you go approach, you received. And suppose like you become the Odin, the clergy, or someone, a monk. If who made a commitment to say that who will not engage in the killing, but if that happens, then that very individual now has to face into two crimes or two negative karmas, consequences of negative karma, or who, in other words, commits two non-virtuous actions. First of all, that very killing is a non-virtuous because by its very nature. And secondly, he took the oath. Right? The oath says he will not, never, ever engage in killing. Now he did. So therefore, he not only broken the, committed the non-virtuous action, which is by the very nature of the action, and he also committed the non-virtuous action by violating the very precepts that he took, which clearly says that killing is not allowed. So that's about the vow. And then now, let's talk about the renunciation. So renunciation is the mind which is determined to free oneself from the suffering, and so that's that you give up kind of. Let's say we talk about here. In this lifetime, right? Many people who would say, "Oh, well, and I'm not going to put all my energies and the time and dedicate everything just for this life alone. But I like to do something and to secure the well-being of my next life, right?" And for that reason, he or she, they engage in the form of spiritual practice. So then that person is whether he practice is in the Buddhist context, that is a small the individual with a small capacity. So meaning he or she kind of understood that this life itself is not the everything, and just try to fulfill the needs of everything for this life, or for the sake of merely for this life alone, and then do everything which is not wise, and because this life is moment by moment changing, and pretty soon it will be end. But the next life, life after, is long. So therefore, he or she is dedicated and engaged in undertaking a form of spiritual practice, and to secure and ensure the well-being of the next lifetime. That is the first group of the three individuals, and according to Lamrim and teachings of Lamrim, stages that take the stages of enlightenment. So, and then the renunciation considered this the individual with the medium capacity is that those individuals who say it doesn't matter, this lifetime of course is very short, very far been perfect, just fulfill everything in this lifetime is not good at all. Even and they try to secure the life after, like meaning get a good, better rebirth in lifetime, next lifetime. That's also is far not enough. Instead, the individual with the medium capacity who completely give any hope, any desire for this life alone in terms of enjoy the sensational physical pleasure, but and then not only here for this life, but also any hope and desire for the future well-being. That well-being primarily concerned with the physical pleasure and the sensational pleasure. So for those individuals, and they develop a strong mind, they do not want any attachment for not only this life alone, but then life after. And then instead of get a better rebirth, now they aim to completely cut off or breaking through the chain of the rebirth and death of rebirth. So then attain the liberation, the state of liberation, that's become arahant. And then the last, the greater individual with the greater capacity is the one. Oh, by the way, those individual who aimed to become arhat, free from the chain of cyclic existence by the means of Buddha Dharma, typically, for example, like by the means of 12 links of interdependent origination, and then attend the spiritual liberty or liberation, and then become arhat. So those are the second group, right? And the individual with the medium capacity. The individual with greater capacity is they are not only renounce or give up the hopes for this life alone, like a pleasure, sensational pleasure, physical pleasure, and they also give up for the next lifetime, and they even give up the hope and the desire, not a desire to attain the liberation and or become arhat just for themselves alone, but rather they completely give up every hopes and desires set up and goals set up by the individual with the small capacity and individual with the medium capacity. Now they are aimed, they set up a perfect goal driven by the great compassion to attain the enlightenment and become a perfect Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. So they have the different renunciations. So Mahayana, the beings with the greater vehicle, their renunciation is to give up a complete hopes and desires for not only here for themselves and life after, but even in they give up the hopes and desires to obtain the arhat Buddha or become liberated, achieve the liberation for themselves alone. So, but rather, and they aim to attain Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings. So now, regarding the liar, and the consequences of the liar, according to the Buddha Dharma, Buddhist teaching, we know that once you liar, generally speaking, will occur or and taking place, generally speaking, is between the individual who trusts you, right? So whether it's a lie or not, it's typically or particularly, and when you say something or you answer the question, give information to someone who really trusts you, okay? So you give the false information, misinformation, and consciously misleading that individual or those individual, and you use their trust, okay? And you know they trust you, and they know they're going to listen to you, so therefore you deliberately, consciously, and misinform them and mislead them. That is the serious. That's the real lie. That's the serious crime that has a serious consequences according to the law of cause and effect. For example, so in the next lifetime, and of course in this life alone, and people will not trust you anymore, right? Or will not listen to you anymore. But in the other effect to you life after is that as a result of your action, you lie and those who trust you, who believe in you, and then next lifetime, and due to you confused them, right, and you made them in the determined the things, and then outcome of course was suffering. So therefore, in your next lifetime, and whatever it doesn't matter whatever you say, how truthful you are, and how sincere you are, people just not take your words seriously, and then won't listen to you.
무슨 가로 되게 되셨는데 무슨 그자 또 기와티니 진 가로 되게 되셨는데 그렇지.
So of course we have to in real life we have to determine the lie. I'm not talking about the serious one, and according to the situation, you know, if the obstacle is so huge and but outcome is so great, then we have to determine whether we tell the small lie or not. Professor Victor, I saw you was raising your hand. Do you have a question?
The question that I had is there was a portion of Garcia Kunga's wonderful teachings today where he was speaking about the way in which our own happiness is inextricably bound and interconnected with the health and happiness of others. In fact, our very bodily happiness is entirely dependent on clothing, on shelter, on food, which is based on the efforts of others. And the question that I had, this is very related, a very realistic way of thinking, and reminds me of exchanging self with other in a very realistic way. And I'm wondering if this kind of practice, this realistic practice, can actually lead us to maybe respond to others who criticize us with praise, or to respond to those who harm us with tolerance, or to respond to those who harm us with forgiveness, and essentially soften us into appreciating and providing kindness and patience for others. So it's that understanding of how inextricably intertwined we are, can that also be part of the spiritual practice of developing these qualities of appreciation, kindness, very realistic response for why kindness might be important, very realistic response.
Would you mind to give an example?
So knowing that how interconnected we all are, when someone criticizes us and we don't know this person, maybe a stranger, that very stranger could be part of our community and part of what helps feed us, shelter us, clothe us, teach someone who feeds us, shelters us, and clothes us, or helps in another way. Every person plays a role in that kind of process.
Okay. 네, 맞아요. 책 공원이 되게 성공해서 참바다 님기 그 공략을 kapela. 나라들 수수도 대화디 텐텐 바레 대화나마디 장가 텐디 노샤베 아니 저부 파말라 텐디 정바레 아니 칼라사야데 두로바야에 대사가 컴바레 이 정말 미장라 텐디 요샤바 사타마시 바람에 대화디 간데 미일라 대화요 대바다 미일라 텐디 정샤바 디단 대가 요리 코닝이 지 컨디션스 대면도다 지나가다 샤바 이 공부하러 샤바스나다 미일라 대화대야 바라지 대위기 대화 이 좋았으나 대화 대야 디지 냐면 지고래 이나 냠는데 지야라 줄까서 또나 멤버시다 아니 김찬당 멤버시다 세랑 것이 아니 지 라란 케토바 또나 칸토바 고초바 데리시가 라나 지담시요 지로와스 답페 자나스데 먼저 미팅 앞에 편집 들어왔어 아니 미팅 앞에 뭐마시 바신 바차자 아니 야 고데가 뭐니 샤바이나 먼저 저기 미팅 앞에 뭐신기 요 말레스 옛날 야 미티 네 맞아 던다마 동이베네 줄아 고치기나 맞아 사야 칼라라 조펜다 칼라 베켄게 이레갈레 야마나 맞아 고야게 들어 델레다 되어야 되게 지지되기 야마나 맞아 도컨 다 되어야 되지 어딜 간지 맞지 맞아 콜라 때니 포다 포트라 때니 대화로 되게 좋아지게 돼 맞아 심이지 인식을 왔어 이제 갑데라니 미팅 오면시 말에 맞아 준비 지요레스 에나 맞아게 아요로요 갑데라 아니 샤바 간데도 본다스
레다 티출라 메그라 돔데오치 자베나 쳄탄 남바상 이웨니 마 심지 탐지 마키 심지 탐지 소소 심지 탐지 마마키르 셈친 로아식 장메 제당 뜻이다. 따뜻하다 소소 신드가라니 아마라니 카르친 보이 만오지 셈지 담저라니라 카르친 보레 제네 뜻이다. 뜻다다 때네. 따티기 렌트 코더. 된다 게 남이 상고네. 마 셈지 뜻 nga 카르친 보레 니 점자 nga 마 셈지 뜻 카르친 보이 인지로아지 니 뜻트와트 용거레. 이나 제당 뜻텐텐 바로. 된다 nga 파드 스텐 스르지 같은 디텐데다 어때 인자다 가서 틴템 바이자 직직라 기십 당자 다 소소 다시 냠지도 배운데 랑 대원도 바나 젠 대원도 그래 nga 딩음도 젠 딩음도 바래 뜻 상마 띵냠도 지다 nga 로는 뜻이다 요건도 뜻잖아 다 뜻이 내가 지라 대원 뜻좀
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess due to the time, so I probably just not elaborate that for too long, and just give you to the point so tell you how what I feel, how I feel. So in Buddhism, essentially we have a special terminology called all mother sentient being, right? So under this term, all mother sentient being, and it covers everyone, and it requires we look at everyone, and not from his or her professions, right? And his or her relation to us, whether it's stranger or friends or this or that, but rather we immediately require this literally the Mahayana teaching requires us to looking upon anyone who running into us or had any relationship, positive, negative, and hopeful and not hopeful, neutral, whatever, we must immediately apply this very the theory, the understanding, a unique Mahayana understanding of others. That is mother, meaning that just like and that individual, just like your very own mother in this lifetime, and how kind and or whatever she has done for you, for the well-being of you. So this stranger in here appear in front of you, or someone that can be considered as neutral or enemy, and in the long, and theoretically, if you put it in the context of the Buddhist reincarnation point of view, it has been your mother. So therefore, and you need to treat or view him or her or them as your mother. So that's the basic attitude required. Of course, and I sometimes when upon hear this, all sentient beings has been mother, so you need to treat it all sentient being and us as your mother. And then I'm thinking, how about me? So I have been the mother of many others. So I also deserve some kind of respect or a kind return. And since I have been the mother for many, and of course the point is not important. The point is not about how important I am. The point is my well-being and others' well-being, or others' well-being and my well-being. And myself is interrelated. So therefore, this interrelatedness is the understanding of this interrelatedness is the key. And I guess clearly speaking, that personally I believe if we practice, keep it in our mind and practice exchange self with other, I think that can resolve all the problems.
I can't get down.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay. The Holy, she said hi, Stacy,
Uh-huh.
and said
Holly?
thank you for
Okay.
your questions. Also, she said hi to Victor, sharing your talk. And yeah. Let's see.
Let me pull this down. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Oops. Yeah. Thank you, Geshe-la, Tempa, and Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation to the monks of the monastery, you may do that by emailing the temple, and the email is tmbcc.kcl@gmail.com, or you can call, which is 812-336-6807. And for everyone else, and they would really appreciate your donation for this teaching. for people in the temple, I'm going to pass around the begging bowl. And if you would like to make a donation, you may do so. If not, you can just say a prayer or a mantra into the bowl. All right, thank you.
Now we'll say the closing prayer on page number 80. 宝的早为拉玛人国切大业女儿把面的说，高人进步国内之中的不送都是我着早都说，长久生着人国切马切巴那切着。结我娘包没本儿养，空里公德白味儿手，抗日香港的本当的我马路中为难接人生活等怎样？下辈人的报道等着接，将不把我接到了前方。
It's 12 o'clock.
我这样的现在得到根据接受大路，给我得到他们去拉住我的手，小辈叫我他们。我刚到秋冬，我把的到现地位找我的。上步就是拉住我儿子，本地中年电报单上，电子接我他们结果刚上，路线光拉的这中位，上街电报到都结束节，吃了饭都叫我中高位，太久些年我说，各位我别弄啥的呢？一直这样都把毛主席。
Hey, have a great day.